The baby had stopped crying. That's how Jack Turner knew she was dying. 3 days since he'd buried his wife in frozen ground, and now he was losing his daughter too. He'd tried everything: goat's milk that came back bloody, rice water that wouldn't stay down, prayers that God ignored. When the knock came that January night, he didn't expect salvation. But Maggie Rose stood there, soaked and shaking, and said the only words that mattered: "I can feed her." Hit subscribe right now. Stay until the end. Comment your city so I can see how far this story reaches. Lily weighed nothing. That's what scared Jack the most. 3 days ago, she'd had weight, substance, fight. Now when he lifted her, it felt like holding air wrapped in cloth. He sat in the dark. The fire had died hours ago, maybe yesterday. Time didn't work right anymore. "Come on, baby girl." His voice cracked. "Just drink a little." The tin cup touched her lips. Rice water dribbled down her chin. Her mouth didn't even move. Jack set the cup down. His hands shook. Mary had been dead 72 hours, buried in ground so frozen they needed picks to break through. The preacher had rushed through the words, too cold for lingering, too cold for proper grief. "Take care of her," Mary had whispered. Last breath, last words, blood soaking through the sheets. Jack pressed his forehead to Lily's. "I'm trying. God, I'm trying." Outside, wind hammered the cabin. January and Dry Willow didn't forgive mistakes. People died out here for less than what Jack was facing. Froze in their beds, starved in their homes, disappeared into white nothing. He'd ridden 8 miles to the Johnson Ranch yesterday. Begged for milk, any milk. "Cow died in December," Johnson had said, not meeting his eyes. "Sorry, Jack. Wish I could help." Everyone wished they could help. Nobody did. The town doctor, drunk by noon most days, had looked at Lily and shrugged. "Some babies don't make it without a mother. That's just nature." Jack had nearly killed him. Would have, if the sheriff hadn't pulled him off. Nature. Like that explained anything. Like that made it acceptable. He'd pinned the note to his door this morning, used the last paper in the house, the back of Mary's apple pie recipe. His tears had smudged the ink, but the words were clear. "If anyone has milk to spare, please help my baby girl. We'll pay anything. God bless you, Jack Turner." No one had come. Of course not. It was winter. Everyone was barely surviving. And there was the other thing, the thing people didn't say. A widowed man with an infant. People didn't know how to help without it looking improper. So they stayed away, and Lily was dying in his arms. "I don't know what else to do," Jack said to the empty room. "I've tried everything. Lily made a sound. Small. Final. Jack stood fast. The rocking chair crashed backward. "No, Lily, no. Stay with me." He patted her back, put his ear to her chest. Her heartbeat was there, but faint. So faint. "Please don't go. I can't lose you both." "Knock, knock." Jack's head snapped up. The wind? A branch? "Knock, knock, knock." Louder, deliberate. He moved to the door. Lily clutched against his chest. His hand shook on the latch. Wind nearly ripped the door away when he opened it. A woman stood there, young, his age maybe, dark hair plastered to her face, wool coat soaked through, shaking hard. "Are you Jack Turner?" "Yes." He had to shout over the wind. "Who?" "I saw your note." She stumbled forward. "I can help. I can feed her." The words didn't make sense, or they did, but Jack couldn't let himself hope. "My name is Maggie Rowe. I live 2 miles east. My husband died in October. My baby." Her voice broke. My baby died 3 weeks ago. But I still have. I can still. She couldn't finish. Jack stared at her, at this stranger offering the impossible. You'd do that? Maggie's eyes were swollen red. That's a baby who needs help, and I can help her, so please. Her voice cracked. Please let me try. Lily made that sound again, that giving up sound. Come in, Jack said. God, come in. Maggie stumbled through the door. Jack shut out the wind and the cold and the death waiting outside. Where can I? Maggie looked around, lost. The chair by the fire. Jack righted the rocking chair, kicked it closer to the dead coals. Will this? Yes. Maggie moved like she was dreaming, unbuttoned her coat with shaking hands, started on her dress. Jack turned to face the wall fast. Do you want me to? Just give her to me. Jack turned back, eyes down. Maggie had arranged herself in the chair, blanket draped across her shoulder. He couldn't see anything. His face burned anyway. He transferred Lily into Maggie's arms. Hey, little one. Maggie's voice changed, became softer, sadder. I know you're hungry, I know. She adjusted Lily beneath the blanket. Lily latched. The sound, small, desperate sucking, hit Jack like a fist. He gasped, grabbed the mantle to stay upright. Is she? Shh. Let her eat. Jack stood there, gripping the mantle. Listened to his daughter swallow. Listened to Maggie hum something wordless. Listened to the fire pop and the wind howl. Minutes passed. 5, 10, 20. Lily's breathing smoothed out. The rattle disappeared. Her body relaxed. She's okay, Jack whispered. She's... Maggie's voice was thick with tears. She's going to be fine. She just needed her mother. Jack looked at her then, really looked at this woman who'd walked through a blizzard to save a stranger's child. At her hollow face, streaming with silent tears, at the way she held Lily like she was made of glass and gold. Thank you. The words weren't enough. I don't thank you. Maggie didn't respond, just kept humming, kept rocking. After another 20 minutes, Lily fell asleep. Maggie carefully switched sides. Jack turned away. When he turned back, Maggie was staring down at Lily with such naked grief that Jack felt like he was intruding. Your baby, he said quietly. I'm sorry, Samuel. Maggie closed her eyes. He was 6 weeks old. What happened? Fever. One day he was fine, the next. She shook her head. By nightfall, he was gone. And your husband? Mind collapse, rockfall. Her voice went flat. They didn't bring his body up, just sealed the tunnel. Jack sank into the other chair. Jesus! Don't! Sharp now. Don't feel sorry for me. I didn't come for pity. I came because. She looked at Lily. Because I've been hearing crying for 3 weeks, in my head. There's no baby, but I keep hearing it. And I thought I was losing my mind. Then I saw your note, and I thought, maybe this is why. Maybe this is why I still have milk. Maybe there's a reason. There is, Jack said. You saved her life. That's the reason. Maggie didn't answer, just kept rocking. They sat like that for another hour. Wind howling, Lily sleeping. 2 broken people in a dark cabin, holding on to the only thing that made sense. Finally, Maggie said, she'll need to eat again in a few hours. Jack's stomach dropped. You can't go back in that storm. I know, but I can't. I shouldn't. There's a tack room off the barn. Small, but there's a cot and a stove. I can make it warm. He stopped, hearing how it sounded. Just for tonight, until the storm breaks. Maggie was quiet, then nodded. Just for tonight. They both knew it was a lie. 3 days became a week. Maggie stayed in the tack room. Every 4 hours, day or night, Jack knocked and she came to feed Lily. She'd sit in the rocking chair. Jack would make coffee or boil water for tea. They'd talk about weather and livestock, and nothing that mattered. Then Maggie would go back to the barn, and Jack would hold his sleeping daughter and try not to think about how wrong this was, how necessary, how good it felt to not be alone. On day 8, Jack woke to the smell of bacon. He sat up fast. Lily was asleep in her cradle, the one he'd dragged in from the barn, the one he'd built for Mary. Fire roaring, and Maggie at the stove cooking. "What are you doing?" Maggie glanced over. "Making breakfast." "That all right?" "You don't have to." "I know, but I'm here anyway. Might as well be useful." Jack ran a hand through his hair. He was still in his undershirt, hadn't dressed properly in days. "I can't ask you to." "You're not asking. Sit." So Jack sat, and Maggie served bacon and eggs and fresh bread. They ate in silence, both too hungry for words. "You found the chickens," Jack said finally. "Half frozen in the coop. I moved them to the barn. They'll lay better where it's warm." "Thank you," Maggie shrugged. "Like I said, might as well." "It's more than that." Jack set down his fork. "You're keeping us alive." Something flickered across Maggie's face. Pain or guilt. "She's keeping me alive," Maggie said quietly, nodding at Lily. "After Samuel died, I didn't see the point anymore. Stopped eating. Stopped sleeping. Just sat in that empty house, waiting to—" She stopped. "Your daughter gave me a reason to wake up." Jack's throat tightened. "Then I guess we're saving each other." Their eyes met. Something passed between them. Understanding. Shared grief, recognizing itself. Then Lily cried, and the moment broke. "I'll get her," Maggie said. "No, I can't." But Maggie was already there, lifting Lily with practiced hands. "Hey, sweet girl, I know." She settled into the chair, unbuttoning. Jack turned away, listened to Lily latch, listened to Maggie hum, listened to the sounds of family. That thought terrified him. Day 10. Storm finally broke. Weak sunlight through the window. Jack could see all the way to the road, could see the rider approaching. "Damn." Maggie appeared in the doorway, Lily in her arms. "What's wrong?" "Someone's coming." Jack grabbed his boots. "Probably checking on us." Maggie's face went white. "I should go to the barn." "No. Stay. There's nothing wrong with this." But they both knew that wasn't true. The knock came fast. Jack opened the door to Sheriff Morton, hat in hand. "Jack, wanted to check on you after the storm. Make sure you and the baby." He stopped, eyes moving past Jack to Maggie, frozen by the fireplace. "Sheriff," Jack said evenly. "We're fine." "I see that." The sheriff's gaze moved from Maggie to Lily to the breakfast dishes. His jaw tightened. "Mrs. Rowe, surprised to see you here." "I'm helping with the baby." Maggie lifted her chin. "She needed a wet nurse." "That's so." The sheriff looked back at Jack. "That's all that's happening? Wet nursing?" Jack's hands clenched. "What are you suggesting?" "Nothing. Just people talk, Jack. Young widow, living with a young widower. You can imagine." "I don't care what they say." Jack's voice went hard. "My daughter was dying. Mrs. Rowe saved her. That's what matters." "I understand, but appearances matter too. Mrs. Rowe's got a reputation." "My reputation." Maggie's voice turned sharp. "I lost my husband and baby in the same month. My reputation is the last thing I care about. Maybe it should be the first." The sheriff's voice was kind but firm. "You've got to live in this town, both of you. And if people think—" "Let them think." Jack stepped forward. "Mrs. Rowe stays as long as Lily needs her. Anyone with a problem can take it up with me directly." The sheriff sighed. "Jack, I'm trying to help." "Then tell people to mind their business." "You know I can't." He stopped, shook his head. "Fine, your life. But don't say I didn't warn you." He tipped his hat to Maggie. "Ma'am." "Gone. Riding back down the road." Jack shut the door and leaned against it, heart pounding. "He's right," Maggie said quietly. "People will talk. Let them." Jack turned to face her. "I don't care." "You should." "Why?" "Because." She struggled for words. "Because we have to live here. Because Lily will grow up here. Because nothing." Jack crossed to her. "You're staying. That's final." "Why?" "Because Lily needs you." "Because." He stopped, uncertain. "Because we're managing, all three of us. We're figuring it out." "Are we?" "Yes, we are." Neither moved. Then Lily made a small sound, and the spell broke. "She's hungry," Maggie said. "Yeah, I'll check the livestock." Jack grabbed his coat and fled outside into clean, cold air. Behind him, Maggie settled into the rocking chair, humming that wordless song. It sounded like home, and that was the most dangerous thing of all. Night fell fast in winter. By 5, the sun was gone. By 6, darkness pressed against the windows like something alive. Jack sat at the table trying to make sense of the ranch ledger. Numbers blurred together. He'd been awake too long, thinking too hard. Maggie was in the rocking chair with Lily, 3rd feeding since dinner. The baby ate constantly now, making up for lost time, getting stronger every day. "Jack." He looked up. Maggie was watching him, her face soft in the firelight. "You should sleep. You look exhausted." "I'm fine." "You're not." Her voice was gentle. "When's the last time you slept through the night?" Jack couldn't remember. Before Mary died. Before everything fell apart. "I'm managing." "You don't have to manage alone anymore." The words hung in the air between them. Jack didn't know what to say. Didn't know what she meant. Didn't know what he wanted her to mean. "I should check the barn," he said, standing abruptly. "Make sure the animals." "Jack." Maggie's voice stopped him at the door. He turned. "Thank you." "For what?" "For letting me stay." "For?" She looked down at Lily. "For giving me a reason." Jack's throat tightened. "You gave me one too." He left before she could respond. Stepped into the cold and the dark and the vast emptiness of night. Stars overhead, millions of them, cold and distant and uncaring. But in the cabin behind him, warmth, light, life. For the first time since Mary died, Jack Turner felt something besides grief. He felt hope, and that scared him more than anything. The town came for them on a Sunday. Jack was splitting wood behind the cabin when he heard the wagons. 3 of them rolling up the frozen road in a line. He set down the axe and wiped his hands on his trousers, watching them approach with a sick feeling in his gut. Maggie appeared in the doorway, Lily against her shoulder. "Jack, who is that?" "Trouble," he said quietly. "Go inside. Keep the door locked." "I'm not hiding." "Maggie!" "I'm not hiding," she said again, firmer this time. The wagons stopped in front of the cabin. Pastor Williams climbed down first, his black coat stark against the snow. Behind him came Mrs. Henderson, the mayor's wife, her face pinched with righteousness. Then came 3 more women Jack recognized from town. All of them respectable, all of them married. All of them looking at Maggie like she was something unclean. "Jack," Pastor Williams said, removing his hat, "we need to talk." "About what?" "You know." The pastor's voice was gentle but firm. "The situation here, it's not proper." "The situation," Jack said slowly, is that my daughter was dying, and Mrs. Rao saved her life. We understand that. Mrs. Henderson stepped forward. Her voice was sharp, clipped. And we're grateful for Mrs. Rao's Christian charity. But the time for that has passed. The baby is healthy now. Mrs. Rao should return to her own home. She doesn't have a home, Jack said. Her husband's family took it back after he died. Then she can stay with one of us. Mrs. Henderson gestured to the other women. We'll take turns. Give her proper lodging away from. She stopped, glancing at Jack. Away from improper circumstances. Maggie's voice cut through the cold air. I'm not leaving. Everyone turned to look at her. She stood in the doorway, back straight, chin up. Lily was nursing beneath a shawl. Mrs. Rao, Pastor Williams said carefully, please understand. We're thinking of your reputation, of both your reputations. A young unmarried woman living alone with a young unmarried man. I'm not unmarried, Maggie interrupted. I'm a widow. Semantics, Mrs. Henderson snapped. You're living in sin, girl. The whole town knows it. We're not, Jack started, but Maggie spoke over him. What's sin? Feeding a starving baby? Keeping a child alive? You're doing more than that. Mrs. Henderson's eyes were cold. I've heard the stories. You cook his meals, clean his house, sleep under his roof. I sleep in the barn, Maggie said. Do you? Mrs. Henderson's eyebrows rose. Every night, all night. Maggie's face flushed red. How dare you? It's a fair question. The pastor raised his hand, trying to restore calm. Mrs. Rao, we're not accusing you of anything. We're simply saying that appearances matter. And the appearance here is troubling. Then maybe people should stop looking, Jack said. People will always look, Mrs. Henderson said. That's the nature of community. We hold each other accountable. We maintain standards. And right now, the two of you are violating every standard of Christian decency. One of the other women spoke up. My husband says you're shaming your late wife's memory, Jack, living with another woman so soon after. Don't! Jack's voice went dangerous. Don't you dare bring Mary into this. Mary would be horrified, the woman continued. She was a good Christian woman. She'd never. Mary would want her daughter to live, Jack said. Each word came out like a stone. She'd want Lily to have food and warmth and someone to care for her. That's what Mary would want, and that's what Mrs. Rowe is giving her. There are other ways, Pastor Williams said. The church has a fund. We could hire a proper wet nurse, someone older, more appropriate, someone who could come during the day and leave at night. No. Maggie's voice was flat. No other nurse. No substitutions. I'm staying. Mrs. Henderson's face hardened. Then you're choosing shame over dignity. You're choosing scandal over salvation. And when this town turns its back on you, when decent people refuse to associate with you, don't say we didn't warn you. I don't need decent people, Maggie said. I need to feed this baby. Everything else can go to hell. The women gasped. Pastor Williams closed his eyes, pained. Mrs. Rao, he said, please reconsider. For your own sake, a woman alone in this world needs the support of her community. Without that, I'm not alone. Maggie looked at Jack. Something passed between them. I have what I need right here. Mrs. Henderson made a disgusted sound. Then you've made your choice. Don't expect sympathy when the consequences come. She turned and climbed back into her wagon. The other women followed, their faces a mix of pity and contempt. Pastor Williams lingered a moment longer. Jack, he said quietly, I know you're grieving. I know you're struggling, but this isn't the answer. Think about your daughter. Think about what people will say about her when she's older, about her father, about the woman who raised her. People can say whatever they want, Jack said. I'm thinking about keeping my daughter alive. Everything else is noise. The pastor sighed. Then God help you both. He left. The wagons rolled away, leaving deep ruts in the snow. Jack and Maggie stood there in silence, watching them disappear down the road. Finally, Maggie said, "They'll make our lives hell." Probably. No one will talk to us. No one will help us. We'll be. I know. Jack turned to face her. But they're right about one thing. We need to make a decision. Either you leave or what? Jack hesitated. The words were in his throat, but he couldn't push them out. They were too big, too final, too much like hope. Or we make this official, he said finally. Legal, proper. Maggie stared at him. What are you saying? I'm saying we get married. The words hung in the cold air. Maggie's face went pale, then flushed. You can't be serious. Why not? Because. She struggled for words. Because you barely know me. Because your wife just died. Because you don't. We don't. I know you saved my daughter's life, Jack said. I know you've been keeping this house running when I couldn't do it myself. I know Lily reaches for you now when she cries. I know. He stopped, suddenly uncertain. I know I don't want you to leave. Maggie's eyes filled with tears. Jack, it doesn't have to be real, he said quickly. Just on paper. Just so people stop talking. Just so you have protection. A name. A place that's legally yours. A marriage of convenience, if that's what you want to call it. Maggie looked down at Lily, who had fallen asleep at her breast. Her face was soft, sad, complicated. What about love? She whispered. Jack's throat tightened. What about it? Don't you want? Don't you deserve? I had love, Jack said quietly. I had Mary, and I lost her. I'm not looking for that again. I'm just looking for. He stopped, searching for the right word. Survival. Partnership. Someone to help carry the load. That sounds lonely. It's practical. It's sad. Jack didn't know what to say to that. Maggie was right. It was sad. But sadness was better than desperation. Better than losing Lily. Better than watching Maggie leave and never knowing if she was safe, if she was eating, if she was okay. Think about it, he said. You don't have to answer now. Just think about it. Maggie nodded slowly. I will. She went inside, carrying Lily with her. The door closed softly behind them. Jack stood there in the snow, staring at nothing. His heart was pounding. His hands were shaking. He'd just proposed marriage to a woman he barely knew. A woman who was nursing his dead wife's baby. A woman who made the cabin feel less empty, who made mornings bearable, who made him remember what hope felt like. Jack picked up the axe and went back to splitting wood. The physical labor felt good, simple, straightforward. Swing the axe, split the log, stack the wood. No complicated emotions, no impossible decisions, just survival. That's all this was, just survival. He almost believed it. Maggie didn't give him an answer that day or the next, or the day after that. Life continued in its strange new rhythm. Maggie fed Lily every 4 hours, cooked meals, tended the chickens. Jack worked the ranch, fixing fences, feeding livestock, doing all the things that needed doing. They passed each other in doorways and at meal times, polite and careful, like strangers sharing a coach. But at night, when Jack lay awake on the couch and listened to Maggie humming lullabies in the next room. He felt the weight of his proposal hanging between them like smoke. On the fourth day, the first stone came through the window. Jack was in the barn when he heard the glass shatter. He ran to the cabin to find Maggie standing in the main room, Lily screaming in her arms. Broken glass scattered across the floor. "Are you hurt?" Jack grabbed her shoulders, checking for cuts. "No, we're fine. It just—" Maggie's voice shook. It came out of nowhere. Jack looked at the rock on the floor. Wrapped around it was a piece of paper. He picked it up and unfolded it. 2 words written in crude block letters. "Leave whore." Jack's vision went red. He crumpled the paper in his fist and headed for the door. "Jack, don't!" Maggie called after him, but he was already outside, scanning the tree line. Nothing. Whoever threw it was long gone. Cowards. He went back inside. Maggie was sitting in the rocking chair trying to calm Lily. Her hands were shaking. "Who would do this?" she whispered. "Doesn't matter." "It matters to me." Jack knelt beside her chair. "Maggie, listen to me. This is only going to get worse. The town, they've decided we're sinners. They're going to make us pay for it." "Then maybe I should leave." "No!" The word came out too fast, too desperate. Jack forced himself to breathe. "No, that's what they want. They want to separate us, punish us, make us conform. Maybe they're right. Maybe we are." "We're not doing anything wrong," Jack said fiercely. "We're taking care of a baby. That's all. And if that makes us sinners in their eyes, then to hell with them." Maggie looked at him, her eyes wet. "You'd really marry me just to shut them up?" "I'd marry you to keep you safe. That's not the same thing. It's close enough." Maggie was quiet for a long moment. Lily had stopped crying, was making small cooing sounds against her chest. "If we do this," Maggie said slowly, "we have to do it right. No halfways, no pretending. If we're married in front of God and everyone." Jack's heart kicked against his ribs. "Okay, I'll be your wife, legally, publicly, but—" She met his eyes. "But that's all. I'll take your name. I'll run your house. I'll raise your daughter. But I won't share your bed. I won't. I can't. I'm not asking you to." Relief flooded her face. "Then yes, I'll marry you." Jack didn't know what he felt. Relief, fear, something else entirely. "We'll go into town tomorrow," he said. "File the papers. Make it legal." "Will Pastor Williams marry us?" Jack laughed bitterly. "After today, doubt it. We'll find someone else. Justice of the peace, maybe." "They'll say we're not really married, that it doesn't count without a church wedding." "Let them say it. As long as the law recognizes it, that's what matters." Maggie nodded. Then softly, "Thank you, Jack." "For what?" "For not making me leave." "For—" Her voice caught. "For giving me somewhere to belong." Jack's throat tightened. He reached out and touched Lily's head gently. "Thank you for saving her." "I didn't just save her." Maggie's voice was barely a whisper. "She saved me, too." They stayed like that for a while. Jack kneeling, Maggie rocking, Lily sleeping between them. Outside, the wind picked up. Inside, the fire crackled low. This wasn't love. Jack knew that. This was survival, partnership, 2 broken people helping each other stand. But when Maggie smiled at him, small and sad and genuine, Jack felt something shift in his chest. Maybe survival was enough. Maybe it was more than enough. Maybe it was everything. So they rode into town at dawn. Jack drove the wagon, Maggie beside him with Lily bundled against her chest. The sky was gray, threatening snow. The road was frozen hard. Neither of them spoke. When they reached Main Street, people stopped to stare. Shopkeepers came to their windows. Women whispered behind their hands. A group of men outside the saloon watched them pass with hard eyes. Jack kept his gaze forward. Maggie's chin was up, defiant. The justice of the peace office was above the general store. Judge Clemens was a fat man with kind eyes who'd known Jack since he was a boy. "Jack Turner," he said when they walked in. "Heard you might be coming. Word travels fast. Always does." Clemens looked at Maggie. "Mrs. Rowe, I presume?" "Yes, sir. Heard about your situation. About the baby." He nodded at Lily. "She looks healthy now." "She is," Maggie said. "Thanks to—" She stopped. "Thanks to everything." Clemens studied them both. "You sure about this? Marriage is, well, it's permanent. Or supposed to be." "We're sure," Jack said. "Even though—" Clemens hesitated. "Even though you barely know each other?" "We know enough," Maggie said. "Do you?" Clemens sat back in his chair. "Jack, you just lost your wife. Maggie, you just lost your husband and child. Marriage isn't something you do because you're grieving. Marriage is." "Marriage is what we need," Jack interrupted. "Can you do it or not?" Clemens sighed. "I can do it. But I want you both to understand what you're agreeing to. This isn't a business contract. This is a covenant before God and the law. If you're doing this just for appearances—" "We're doing it because it's right," Maggie said. Her voice was steady. "For Lily, for us, for whatever future we're building here." Clemens looked at her for a long moment, then nodded. "All right, then. Let's make it official." The ceremony took 5 minutes. No witnesses except the judge's clerk. No flowers, no music, no celebration. Just words, legal words that bound them together on paper, if not in heart. "Do you, Jack Turner, take this woman?" "I do." "Do you, Margaret Rowe, take this man?" "I do." "Then, by the power vested in me by the territory of Colorado, I pronounce you husband and wife. No kiss, no embrace, just two people standing side by side, holding a baby between them." Clemens filled out the marriage certificate with careful handwriting. "There, legal and binding. Mrs. Maggie Turner now." Maggie stared at the paper, at her new name in black ink. "Thank you, Judge," Jack said. "Good luck to you both," Clemens said. "You're going to need it." They walked out into the gray morning. The street was busier now. More people to stare. More whispers. "Mrs. Turner," someone called out. Jack turned to see Mrs. Henderson standing outside the Mercantile, her face twisted with disgust. "Congratulations on your hasty marriage. I'm sure it's everything you hoped for." Maggie's face flushed, but she didn't respond. Just kept walking. "Whore," someone else muttered. Jack didn't see who. He felt Maggie flinch beside him, felt her steps falter. "Keep walking," he said quietly. "Don't give them the satisfaction. They hate me. They hate what they think we are. There's a difference." "Is there?" They reached the wagon. Jack helped Maggie up, then climbed in beside her. As he picked up the reins, a rock hit the side of the wagon with a loud crack. Jack's head snapped around. A group of young men stood across the street, laughing. One of them, Billy Henderson, the mayor's son, called out, "Better keep your new wife locked up. Tight, Turner. Wouldn't want her wandering off looking for other men to feed." The others laughed louder. One made an obscene gesture. Jack started to climb down, but Maggie grabbed his arm. "Don't," she said urgently. "Please, just take us home." "They can't talk to you like that." "They can, and they will. Fighting them won't change it. It'll just make it worse." Jack wanted to argue, wanted to go back and teach those boys some respect. But Maggie was right. Violence would only prove the town's point. That he was a man out of control, living in sin, corrupting a vulnerable woman. So he snapped the reins, and the wagon rolled forward. The jeers and laughter followed them all the way to the edge of town. Maggie cried silently the whole way home. Jack pretended not to notice. When they reached the cabin, he helped her down from the wagon. She stood there, holding Lily, looking at the small house like she was seeing it for the first time. "This is my home now," she said quietly. "Legally, officially." "Yes." "Mrs. Maggie Turner." "Yes." She turned to look at him. Her eyes were red, swollen from crying. "I don't feel like a wife." "What do you feel like?" "A refugee." Jack didn't know what to say to that, so he just nodded and carried her bag inside. That night, Maggie slept in the tack room, as always. Jack slept on the couch, as always. Lily cried every 4 hours, as always. Nothing had changed except a name on a piece of paper. But as Jack lay in the dark, listening to the wind and the silence, he thought about Maggie's words. A refugee? That's what they both were. Two people fleeing from grief and loss and pain, trying to find shelter in each other's company. It wasn't love, but maybe it was something better. Maybe it was survival. And for now, that was enough. The second attack came 3 days later. Jack was checking the fence line when he smelled smoke. He looked up to see black clouds rising from the direction of the barn. He ran. By the time he got there, flames were already climbing the walls. The animals inside were screaming high, panicked sounds that made his blood run cold. "Maggie!" he shouted. "Lily! Jack!" Her voice came from behind him. He spun around. Maggie stood by the new barn, Lily in her arms, her face streaked with soot and tears. She was alive. They were alive. Jack ran to her and pulled them both into his arms, crushing them against him. "Thank God! Thank God!" "They came back," Maggie sobbed. "This afternoon, Billy and his friends. They had torches. I tried to stop them, but there were too many. I grabbed Lily and ran. I couldn't save anything else." Jack looked at the cabin, at everything they owned going up in flames. Mary's Bible, the cradle, all of it. Gone. "I don't care," he said fiercely. "You're alive. That's all that matters." They stood there watching the cabin burn. No point trying to save it now. Too far gone. By the time anyone could help, it would be nothing but ash and memory. Sheriff Morton arrived 20 minutes later with half the town behind him. They formed a bucket line to keep the fire from spreading to the barn, but nobody tried to save the cabin itself. Pastor Williams approached Jack and Maggie, where they stood apart from the crowd. "This is unconscionable," he said quietly. "Absolutely unconscionable. I'll be speaking to Billy's father tonight." "Won't matter," Jack said. His voice was flat, dead. "Damage is done." "I know this looks bad, but..." "Looks bad?" Jack turned on him. "My home is burning. My family was nearly killed. And you think this looks bad?" "That's not what I meant. You know what the worst part is. You all saw this coming. You knew Billy was dangerous. You knew the town was getting uglier. And none of you did anything. You let it build and build until it came to this." Pastor Williams flinched. "You're right. We should have done more. Should have, but didn't. And now here we are." The pastor opened his mouth, but nothing came out. He just stood there, looking ashamed and helpless. Judge Clemens pushed through the crowd. "Jack, I'm so sorry." "Don't be. You're buying a property with no house now. I'll reduce the price." I don't care about the price. Where will you stay? Jack looked at the barn, at the tack room where Maggie had spent those first nights. We'll manage. Just for tonight. Tomorrow we're leaving anyway. Leaving? Pastor Williams looked stricken. Where? Away from here, as far as we can get. But you can't just. The pastor stopped. This is your home. Was my home. Now it's just ashes. Jack looked at the burning cabin, at 3 generations of Turner history going up in smoke. Let it burn. We're done here. The crowd was silent. Some people looked ashamed. Others looked satisfied. Mrs. Henderson had a small smile on her face. That smile made something break inside Jack. Some last piece of hope, or forgiveness, or charity. You got what you wanted, he called out to her. We're leaving. You win. I hope it was worth it. Worth it? Mrs. Henderson's voice was sharp. You brought this on yourself. If you'd just done things properly. We did, Maggie's voice cut across the yard. We got married. We followed every rule. We went to church. We did everything you demanded. And you still came after us. You still tried to destroy us. So don't you dare say we brought this on ourselves. You're living in sin. Jack moved forward, but Judge Clemens grabbed his arm. Don't. She's not worth it. No, Jack agreed. She's not. None of this is worth it. He turned back to Maggie. Come on, let's get out of here. They walked to the barn together, leaving the crowd to watch the cabin burn. The tack room was small, but intact. Jack found some blankets and made a nest in the corner. We'll sleep here tonight, he said. Tomorrow we go into town, get supplies, and start heading west. Maggie nodded. She was shaking, from cold or shock, or both. Jack wrapped a blanket around her shoulders and pulled her close. I'm sorry, he said. For what? For all of it. For bringing you into this. Don't. Maggie put her hand over his mouth. Don't apologize for giving me a family. Don't apologize for loving me. I do love you. You know that, right? This isn't just. I know. She kissed him softly. I know. Lily started fussing. Maggie settled into the corner and began to nurse. Jack sat beside them, one arm around Maggie, watching the glow from the burning cabin flicker through the cracks in the barn wall. Everything was gone. The house, the furniture, Mary's Bible with her family history written inside, the cradle Jack had built with his own hands, all of it, ash. But Maggie was warm against his side. Lily was feeding peacefully, and in Jack's pocket was a bank draft for $2,000, enough to start over, enough to build something new. We're going to be okay, Maggie whispered. Yeah, we are. How do you know? Jack thought about that, about everything they'd survived. Grief and scandal and fire and hate. About how they'd found each other in the darkest possible moment and built something real from shared pain. Because we have each other, he said simply, and that's enough. That's everything. Maggie rested her head on his shoulder. Outside, the cabin collapsed with a crash and a shower of sparks. Inside the barn, 3 people held onto each other and waited for dawn. They left 2 days later. Jack sold what remained, the horses, the tools, anything with value. Combined with Clemens's payment, they had enough for a wagon, supplies, and a fresh start. The morning of their departure, they stood by Mary's grave one last time. Jack had brought flowers, pathetic winter things, barely alive. He laid them on the frozen ground. I'm sorry, he said to the grave. I'm sorry I couldn't stay. I'm sorry I'm taking Lily away from you. I'm sorry. His voice broke. I'm sorry I fell in love again. Maggie stood a few feet away, giving him privacy. But Jack reached for her hand and pulled her close. "Mary," he said, "this is Maggie. She saved our daughter. She saved me. And I think—" He swallowed hard. "I think you'd like her. I think you'd understand." The wind blew across the grave. No answer, no sign, just cold and silence. But somehow Jack felt lighter. Like Mary had heard him. Like she'd given her blessing. "Goodbye," he whispered. "Thank you for Lily. Thank you for everything. I'll never forget you." They walked back to the wagon where Judge Clemens was waiting. He'd insisted on seeing them off, on making sure they got out safely. "You have everything?" he asked. Jack looked at the loaded wagon, at Maggie and Lily bundled against the cold, at everything they owned in the world fit into one small space. "Yeah, we have everything that matters." Clemens shook his hand. "Good luck, Jack. I hope California treats you better than Colorado did. Couldn't treat us worse." "Right." Clemens hesitated. "When you get settled, let me know you made it." "I will." Jack climbed onto the wagon. Maggie sat beside him, Lily tucked inside her coat. The baby was sleeping, oblivious to the fact that her whole life was changing. Jack picked up the reins, looked back at the burned ruins of the cabin, at the new barn standing solid, at the land his family had worked for generations, then looked forward at the road leading west, at the future waiting somewhere beyond the horizon. "Ready?" he asked Maggie. She smiled. "Ready." Jack snapped the reins. The wagon rolled forward. They didn't look back. The journey west was hard. Winter made everything harder. The cold, the roads, the constant worry about Lily's health. But they managed. They survived. In a small town in Utah, they stopped to rest and replenish supplies. Jack found work at a lumber mill. Maggie found a boarding house that would take them. They stayed a week, then 2, then a month. The owner of the mill offered Jack a permanent job, good pay, steady work. Jack looked at Maggie. "What do you think?" She looked around the small town, at the mountains rising in the distance, at the neat houses and quiet streets. "It's not California," she said. "No. But it's not Dry Willow either. No one knows us here. No one cares about us here." "There's a difference," Maggie smiled. "I like that difference." So they stayed. Rented a small house on the edge of town. Jack worked at the mill. Maggie took in sewing. Lily grew strong and healthy, her laughter filling the house. Months passed, then years. The story of how they met, the desperation, the scandal, the fire, faded into memory, became just another chapter in their lives instead of the defining one. People in their new town knew them as Jack and Maggie Turner. A quiet couple, hard-working, private, a little sad sometimes, but kind. Good neighbors. No one questioned their marriage. No one threw rocks. No one set fires. They were just another family trying to make it in a hard world. One spring morning, 2 years after they'd left Colorado, Maggie told Jack she was pregnant. He stared at her. "What?" "I'm pregnant. About 3 months along, I think." Jack pulled her into his arms, overwhelmed. Are you sure?" "The doctor confirmed it yesterday." She pulled back to look at him. "Are you happy?" "Happy?" He couldn't find words. "Yes, God, yes." That night, they told Lily she was going to be a big sister. She was almost 3 now, bright and curious and beautiful. She clapped her hands with delight. "Baby!" she shouted. "My baby!" Jack and Maggie laughed. The sound filled their small house. Genuine, unforced laughter. The sound of a family that had survived everything and come out whole on the other side. The baby came in October. A boy. They named him Samuel Thomas Turner, after Maggie's lost son and her lost husband. Jack held his son for the first time and felt something he hadn't felt in years. Complete peace. Like all the broken pieces had finally found their way back together. "He's perfect," Maggie whispered from the bed. "Yeah, he is." Lily climbed up beside her mother and peered at her new brother. "He's little." "You were little once, too," Maggie said, smoothing Lily's hair. "Was I crying?" "Sometimes. But your daddy took good care of you." Lily looked at Jack, at this man who'd raised her without question, who'd never treated her as anything less than his daughter. "Are you my real daddy?" she asked suddenly. Jack's breath caught. He knelt beside the bed so he was eye level with her. "Yes," he said. "I'm your real daddy. From the first moment I held you, you were mine, and you always will be." "What about Mama? Is she my real Mama?" Maggie's eyes filled with tears. "What do you think, sweet girl?" Lily considered this, then nodded decisively. "You're my real Mama. Because you feed me and love me and you're just my Mama." "That's right," Maggie said, pulling her close. "I'm your Mama. Always." That night, after the children were asleep, Jack and Maggie sat on their small porch, watching the stars come out. "Do you ever think about Colorado?" Maggie asked. "Sometimes. Less than I used to." "Do you regret leaving?" Jack thought about that, about his father's land and Mary's grave, and everything he'd given up. "No," he said finally. "I don't regret it. That life, it was killing us. Slowly but surely. Coming here saved us." "You saved us," Maggie corrected. "You chose us over everything else. That's what saved us." Jack took her hand. "We saved each other." They sat in comfortable silence. Inside, their children slept peacefully. Around them, their new town settled into darkness. Above them, the stars burned bright and cold and eternal. "Jack," Maggie said softly, "are you happy?" He looked at her, at this woman who'd walked through a blizzard to save a stranger's baby, who'd stayed when anyone sensible would have run, who'd loved him through grief and scandal and fire and fear. "Yeah," he said, "I'm happy." "Me too." And she was. They both were. Not the uncomplicated happiness of people who'd never suffered, but the deeper, harder-won happiness of people who'd lost everything and rebuilt from ashes. Years later, when Lily was grown with children of her own, she asked Jack to tell her about her mother, her first mother. They sat in that same small house, now expanded with additions and improvements. Jack was older now, gray-haired and weathered by time. "Her name was Mary," Jack said, "and she loved you more than anything. She died giving you life. That's the kind of person she was. Someone who gave everything for the people she loved. Do you still miss her?" "Every day, but not the way I used to. Now I miss her the way you miss an old friend, with love, but not pain." "And Mama, how did she become my Mama?" Jack told her the story, all of it, the desperation, the knock on the door, the scandal, the fires, the escape. He told it simply, without embellishment. When he finished, Lily was crying. "I'm sorry you went through all that," she said. "Don't be sorry. If we hadn't gone through it, we wouldn't be who we are. You wouldn't be who you are. Your brother wouldn't exist. Our life, this good life, it grew out of all that pain. Do you believe that? That pain can become something good?" Jack thought about Mary dying in his arms, about Maggie showing up in a blizzard, about the town turning against them, about the fire and the fear. and the long journey west, about all the ways life had broken him and remade him into someone stronger. "Yeah," he said, "I believe it. Pain shapes us, but it doesn't have to destroy us. We get to choose what we do with it. We can let it make us bitter, or we can let it make us better. Which did you choose?" "Better, with your mama's help." Lily hugged him tight. "Thank you for telling me. Thank you for asking." That night, Jack lay in bed beside Maggie. She was 60 now, her dark hair streaked with silver, still beautiful, still the woman who'd saved his life. "I told Lily the story today," he said. "How did she take it?" "Better than I expected. She understood." Maggie rolled over to face him. "Do you think we made the right choices? Looking back?" Jack didn't hesitate. "Yes, every single one. Even leaving Colorado? Especially leaving Colorado. That place was killing us. Coming here gave us room to breathe, room to heal, room to become who we were supposed to be. And who's that? A family. A real family built on love instead of obligation." Maggie smiled and touched his face. "I love you, Jack Turner." "I love you too, Maggie Turner." They fell asleep holding hands, the way they had every night for 20 years. Two people who'd found each other in the darkest moment and built a life from shared pain. Two people who'd proven that love wasn't just what you felt. It was what you chose, what you fought for, what you rebuilt from ashes. Jack Turner died peacefully at 73, surrounded by his children and grandchildren. Maggie held his hand as he took his last breath. "Thank you," he whispered, "for everything, for saving Lily, for saving me." "You saved me first," Maggie whispered back. He smiled, then closed his eyes and let go. Maggie lived another 5 years, long enough to see her great-grandchildren born, long enough to tell the story one more time, about a desperate father, a grieving mother, and a baby who needed them both. Long enough to know that what they'd built had lasted. That love, real love, was stronger than scandal, stronger than fire, stronger than death itself. On the day she died, her last words were simple. "I'm coming, Jack. Wait for me." And somewhere beyond the veil, in whatever comes after, maybe he did. The story of Jack and Maggie Turner became family legend, passed down through generations. Changed little with each telling, but the core remained true. Two broken people found each other in impossible circumstances. They survived scandal and violence and loss. They chose each other over pride, over property, over everything the world told them mattered. They built a family not from blood, but from sacrifice. They proved that sometimes the greatest love stories aren't about passion or romance. They're about two people who refuse to give up on each other when the whole world says they should. Their grave markers stand side by side in a small cemetery in Utah. Simple stones with simple words. Jack Turner, beloved husband and father. Maggie Turner, beloved wife and mother. But the real monument to their love isn't in stone. It's in the family they built, in the descendants who carry their story forward, in the proof that love, real, hard-won, impossible love, can survive anything, even death, especially death, because true love doesn't end when the heart stops beating. It lives on in the people we touch, the lives we change, the families we build from broken pieces. Jack and Maggie Turner understood that. They lived it, they proved it, and their story endures.